So now we've got our code on the API, let's head over to our client, and what we'll do is we'll go to our activity store first of all. Now when we create our hub connection, because we need to pass the activity ID, we're going to need to add a parameter to this particular action. So we'll pass in the activity ID, which of course is going to be a string. And then what we'll do is, after we've started our hub connection, then we'll chain on another len condition. So we'll say .len, and in here what we'll do is we'll open some curly braces, and first of all we'll just add a console.log statement just so we can see what we're attempting to do. So we'll just say attempting to join group, and in the second statement we'll say this.hubConnection, and we'll say invoke, and then we'll specify add to group, and be careful with spelling because this needs to match exactly what we've called this method in our chat hub in the API, and we'll pass in the activity ID as the second parameter here. And what we'll also do is we'll add another listConnectionOn method so that we can access the send, which is what we're sending back after an activity has joined a particular group. So we'll say this.hubConnection.on, and this time we'll say send, and we're going to get a message back from this. And what we'll do is just inside here we'll just add a toast, and this will be annoying, so I wouldn't recommend doing something like this in a real application, because every time somebody does browse to an activity it's going to pop up a toast saying that somebody's joined the group if somebody happens to be looking at that same particular activity. But it will give us some visual feedback that things are happening as they're supposed to. And what we also want to do inside here is we want to add something to our stop connection. And when the connection is stopped, we want to remove the user from that particular group. So what we'll do is we'll say list.hubConnection.invoke, and this time we'll use the remove from group. Once again, be careful with spelling because it won't work if you misspell this. And then we'll just say this.activity, because we'll have this as an observable inside our store here when a user has been browsing an activity, and we'll get the ID from there in this particular case. And what we want to do actually is chain on a len promise to this particular method so that we don't attempt to stop the connection until after this method has completed. So we'll just take our listConnectionStop and move it inside of there. And we'll just add another len in here, and we'll just log out saying that the connection has stopped. So we'll just say console.log and connection stopped. And just in case, we'll also add the catch statement, and we'll say that if we do have an error, then we'll just console.log the error at this stage. So one other thing to do, we just need to go to our activity detail chat, and because we need the ID of the activity now, let's go ahead and just pass in the activity and add the exclamation mark .id. And this should be all we need to do to test. So let's go and check to make sure this functionality has worked. So I'm just going to refresh both of these browsers just to make sure that everything's reset. And we can see that Bob has joined a group and Jane has joined a group. And I'm logged in as Jane, I'm on activity 2, and it does show up this message for the currently logged in user. That's why I was saying it's probably going to be annoying if you were going to add that particular functionality. But what we should find now is that if I send a message and I'm in past activity 1, logged in as Bob, and on the right hand side I'm in past activity 2, logged in as Jane, and what we should find is that when I add a comment from this one, and let's hit on the add reply, then we don't see it turn up inside past activity 2. If I go to activity 1, or past activity 1, that when I join the same activity, we get the message on the browser to say that Jane has joined the group. And if I send a message now from this one, we should see it on both sides. So just click on add reply, and we can see that message has popped up there, and I'll just do the same from this side as well, and we can see it popping up on both of those. So this is as far as we're going with SignalR. We've now got the functionality set up so that we can see live comments coming in for specific activities, and we've also looked at the group side of this as well, and we've added some annoying pop-ups messages onto our activities as and when a user browses and joins the group. So I'll probably turn that functionality off for the rest of the course because it will get annoying. But this is just an example of how to achieve certain things. So this brings us to the end of this particular section. So just as per normal, we're going to go across into the VS Code, into source control, and I'm just going to add this commit and say end of section 19 and stage these changes and send them on up to GitHub. And we'll finish off this section with a summary.